as a horror filmmaker, I mean, you're kind of like a rebel inside the industry anyway. There's still, no matter what happens, the horror crowd are still looked upon with a certain amount of suspicion and disdain by those high ups, whatever the powers that be. So horror filmmakers are like the rebels inside the film industry, and the idea of forbidden screenings, or the best thing you hear about is like people fainting in your screenings or being wheeled out into ambulances. It's like that's what you want to achieve. You want riots in the cinema. You want people passing out. You want, and forbidden screenings falls into that category as well. Well, for me as a filmmaker, it was a chance to sort of get back to my roots and just do a good old-fashioned B movie. Like I grew up on B movies in the 80s, really, genre stuff. And when it's done well, it's just like they're so entertaining and fun, like completely unpretentious. I wanted to make something that was just fun and full of action and monsters and blood and guts and just that kind of thing, which I guess in a way is harking back to my earlier films, and particularly Dog Soldiers. I know it's monsters underground and people think, oh, it's going to be like The Descent. It's not. It's way closer to Dog Soldiers in that it's mixing horror and humor and interesting characters. And of course it's soldiers versus monsters. In that tradition, like, Predator obviously, and Aliens, and Dog Soldiers, and the few other films besides. So I wanted to make that kind of movie and just have fun. Because the previous movie, The Reckoning, while I'm very, very proud of it, is very kind of straight. It's very dark. Yeah, it's kind of dealing with fairly serious issues of witch hunts and sexual harassment and all kinds of things like that. So that wasn't very funny. This one I wanted to make fun. I don't really know. It's kind of how I guess I sort of just started out with Descent, and it kind of stuck after that, of like, at a time when we made Descent and Doomsday, a female protagonist was still quite a rare thing in that kind of movie, and it kind of stuck after that. It was like, I like writing these like strong female characters, and and since Charlotte was obviously like co-writing the script with me and was writing, we were writing characters for her to play, it sort of fell into place that it was like, that was going to be a female lead, and this is going to be a female lead, but very, very different characters under very, very different circumstances. Torture generally is torture. Right? Writing is pain. It's mainly it's a conversational thing of like knocking ideas backwards and forwards, making notes to which then I go off and I kind of type it up. So I do the physical writing, but like the ideas and the stories and the character beats and all the bits and comes from discussions between the two of us. Well, to a degree, but what she does, and is really smart about, is she doesn't write from an actor's point of view. She takes that hat off and sets it down and is a writer for that part. And it's only when we get to set and it's like, oh God, I've got to act this stuff. And then it's like, oh yeah, you remember that bit where you've got to crawl through a sewer? Yeah, now you've got to do it. And, oh yeah, I forgot about that bit. So it's like, she treats it like separate things. The same with me as a director, I suppose, because more often than not, I'll get to set and realize, oh God, I've got to do this thing that I wrote and I don't know how to do it. Yeah. So yeah. It's different every time. The origin of Doomsday was a weird thing of this. It was like a dream I had, or a vision. I don't know. I have visions of a futuristic soldier of some kind facing off against a medieval knight on a horse, and this image popped into my head of like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? How could I make that happen in a movie that didn't involve time travel? And Doomsday kind of came from that. So, but it's different every time. It's like sometimes if I'm dealing with the witch hunts or whatever, it was like, well, which period of history would that take place in? And it was like, you had a choice, really. With this one, it was, I wanted it set in Afghanistan, and I pinpointed a particular historical moment, which was when the Americans dropped this ridiculous bomb in 2017, this Moab bomb, which is like the biggest non-nuclear bomb that they have. And they've done it once, and this was the date that they did it. And it was like, wouldn't it be great if there was a story behind that?
Yeah.
Like, what's the reason for them dropping that particular bomb on that particular place? And it kind of sprung from there of like, oh, what if it was a cover-up? You know, then you usually get into government, you think, oh, cover-up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was that kind of thing. I think mostly it's fun. I don't really do a lot of political subtext in my movies, but I think if you want to read it, it's there.
Like you could, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's the best kind of subtext anyway. Is like I didn't necessarily put it there, but it's something between the lines, and it's inherent in the material or the world that you're creating. And, you know, if I'm making a film about, you know, when we were filming this, you know, we did a film about Russians, the Russian invasion of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And, you know, we make the movie and just as it's about to come out, oh, the Russians are going to invade another country.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I didn't plan for that.
Yeah.
Just when I was making The Reckoning, we made it in 2019. It's all about the plague.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 2020, oh, mass COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
I just love monsters. I grew up on monster movies. I grew up on Doctor Who in the 70s and 80s. And it was like, each week there was a new monster, and it was like, and I love it. Yeah, it's like putting together a puzzle. It's like if you start off with one person, you've got to see, well, who fits with that person?
Yeah.
And then like who fits with those two people, and then who fits with those three. And to build a group that seems to complement and contradict each other. So not everybody's the same, everybody's different, but like they form a collective unit of some kind. And I like working with ensembles. It's like there's less ego involved because everybody's in it together,
Yeah.
which is way more bearable. So yeah, I like that stuff. One of the things I love about this whole industry is I re-quote somebody else. I think it was Robert Watts who said it about when he was making Raiders of the Lost Ark. He says it's an apprenticeship for life, as in you can never know it all because every film is different. Every film presents a different set of problems. You will never do the same scene twice, so you're learning constantly. What did I learn about in the Lair was don't go and do a film with lots of night shoots in Budapest in the summertime when it has 6 hours of darkness. That was what I learned about that. That desert movies are not as easy as they look, especially when you're filming Afghanistan in Budapest, but it was still 40-odd degrees heat, and it was pretty hot. And no, I mean, there's some things of like, just try and be better, as planned as possible, and you know, but these are bog standard things.
Yeah.